Welcome to Porter's Journey, our new YouTube channel. That's a bit of a tongue twister, and it's just documenting our investing journey with stocks and shares. I'm Andrew, if we haven't met before, nice to meet you. And my wife, Melissa, she's not in this video, but about a month ago, we started investing with stocks and shares. And again, stocks and shares is just a way whereby you can buy a little portion of a company, and because you own that part of the company, you're hoping that the value of that part of the company will increase, and then you'll be able to sell it and make money. And then also with some stocks, you get dividends or monthly or quarterly payments back where the company is thanking you or rewarding you for being able to use your money because you've bought part of their company. We started with Wealth Simple Trade. There's basically, if you're wanting to trade online, so in other words, if you're wanting to buy the stocks and shares online, you're going to have to use an online platform. And here in Canada, Wealth Simple Trade is one of the popular ones. It's sort of an up and coming. They've been around for a while, but certainly they are growing in their market share. And so this is my first month review. It's March 2021. And so this has been my experience with Wealth Simple Trade. So the summary version would be something like this here. We have really enjoyed Wealth Simple Trade. I would really encourage anyone who hasn't invested, I would really encourage you to jump in. It's been a good month, and so I have to be careful. Everything has done well for us. But in terms of a platform, I would recommend Wealth Simple Trade. There is a however, and the however would be you need to know just some of the ways that Wealth Simple Trade is set up. And if you know what its strengths are and what its weaknesses are, and that's going to work for you, then I would encourage you to go with Wealth Simple Trade. It's been a great experience. So quickly, just some pluses or pros to Wealth Simple Trade. The big one, as I mentioned, is 0% commission. So again, if you think about it, you're buying the shares of a company or parts of a company, and then you now own them. A lot of the online platforms, every time you would buy a share or every time you put through a transaction, you have to pay a commission fee. And sometimes that's a flat rate. It can be up to, I believe it's up to about $10 for every transaction for some companies. Some are more like $4 per transaction, and then there's all different ways to measure it. Wealth Simple Trade, it's 0% commissions when you buy and when you sell. And so that worked out really well for us. And like I said, if you haven't checked it out, check out our last video. I may even try and put a link if I can figure out how to do that. But basically for us, we knew we were starting with really small amounts. Our goal is to get to $1,000. And so in the investing world, that's really not very much money, but every little helps. But I knew the way we were going to be doing it, where we would essentially invest $100 at a time, and we'd buy 2 or 3 different stocks. Well, with every one of those 2 or 3 different stocks, you would have to pay, say, $9.95 if you were with one of the other banks. Well, that was going to eat into our investment. It would basically make it where you were losing money. And so it wasn't going to be viable to use one of those bigger banks. And so that's where Wealth Simple Trade comes into its own with a $0 commission fee. And so I'd strongly encourage you, if you're just starting out like us, just to take a good look at Wealth Simple Trade. Now, there is some compromises. There is some, sacrifice when you're going with Wealth Simple Trade. And so we'll get to that in a minute. Before I get to maybe some of the sacrifices, let me also talk about some of the other things that I enjoyed. I've found the platform to be really intuitive. And I think I maybe watched one tutorial, but I don't even know if I really followed it step by step. But essentially, I signed in, created an account. I was able to work out which kind of account to set up. I went with a TFSA, tax-free savings account. And so it was straightforward to set up. It was straightforward to link my bank account, and then straightforward to transfer money over, and then straightforward to buy some stocks and shares. And I found the app is really intuitive. Now, my little gripe with the app, most of what I've done so far has been on my iPad. And if maybe I've got the wrong app, maybe there's an iPad app, but I would say the app was designed specifically for people using it on a phone. And so it's not full screen on an iPad. and you have to hold the iPad in portrait, not landscape. It doesn't rotate. Maybe I'm making a mistake and you can do it, but that bugs me just so slightly that it's not full screen. But both the iPad app and then also the computer app I have found to be really intuitive, really clear, really straightforward. It's also good for a beginner. As I say, there's so much I don't know about investing, but we've just found there was times where you click on something and then it brings up a little description of what I've just clicked on, and a little definition of what that means and how it's going to affect me. And so I found those tips for beginners really helpful. Now, what are the compromises? What are the downsides to Wealth Simple Trade? It's mainly, well, it is a Canadian company, and so one of the ways that they do charge fees is if you invest in the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange. And so then, as well as the exchange rate, because you have to buy American stocks in American dollars, so as well as the exchange rate, then you would also have to pay a fee for Wealth Simple Trade doing that exchange on your behalf. And so there's a fee when you buy and there's a fee when you sell. And so just be aware of that if you're planning to trade mainly American stocks, then probably price-wise, Wealth Simple Trade is not the right option for you. But if you're like us and you're planning to invest in the TSX, a Toronto Stock Exchange, then Wealth Simple Trade is a great platform, and there are lots of opportunities of companies, Canadian companies that are solid to invest in. And there's also ways in which you can invest in American companies, say through an ETF. So then you're not getting into the whole exchanging of currency and stuff, but you still own a little piece of Apple or own Amazon or own some of those bigger American companies. So just keep that in mind, that if you're planning on buying a lot of American stocks, probably better to look at another product other than Wealth Simple Trade. There's also a 15-minute delay. So whenever I look at the stock prices of my holdings, it's 15 minutes old. And so again, for some, that could be an issue. We knew that going in. I haven't found it to be that big an issue so far. But it might be that you need it to be right up to date. And if you do, then you probably better look at that. And there is some scenarios where that would be an issue. If you're paying market value for stocks, then that could be an issue as well. The other thing is there's a limit to certain stocks or certain types of stocks that you cannot invest in Wealth Simple Trade, like options, I think some bonds. You can't short sell with Wealth Simple Trade. Now, if you're like me, I kind of know what those terms are, but I don't really know what those terms are. And so I think what I would say about that is, again, as a beginner, we just found that there was lots of opportunities in the Wealth Simple Trade to be able to buy what we needed to buy, and it was going to be fine. It wasn't going to be an issue. But if you know I want to trade options, if you know you want to short sell, again, Wealth Simple Trade would not be a good product for you to start off with. And then the other thing that, again, is a little annoying is that there is a 3-day hold on your money. So in other words, if today is Saturday, so it's a bad day. So say Monday, if I was to put in $100, it's going to be 3 business days until I can actually spend that $100. And so again, I've heard just recently that they're trying to change this so that there's not a 3-day hold on it. But once you know, it's not a big deal. You can work around it. But I know the first couple of times I was like, I just want to buy something. I'd done all the research. I was ready to buy, put my money in, and then it's a 3-day hold. And it's like, it's hard waiting. So if that's something that's going to be an issue, then I would encourage you, again, to look at a different product. So those are some pros and some cons of Wealth Simple Trade. So what about my first month investing? 2 things that I would want to bring out here and mention. Just now we'll change to the screenshot, and you can see where we're at here. We're up to 325 and 69. As I said, it's Saturday, so nothing's going to be moving here. All the markets are shut down for the weekend. But you can see in the last month we're up 5%. In the last week we're up 4%. And the last day we went up 1%. And again, you can see the amounts are really small, but it's been just an encouragement just to see how that has come together. So just so you know, we put in $300. We got a $10 reward because we logged in using somebody's referral code. So we're looking at about $15.69 of an increase or of growth in our portfolio, and then plus the $10 referral. So we are really thrilled. It's been, you know, as I say, if you're thinking about investing, I would encourage you to do your research, but there's just lots of safe options where there's, you know, very little risk, and you're able to make some money and get some dividends. And so I'd encourage you just to do your research and to jump in. You can see here just some of the holdings that we have. We got a couple of ETFs here at the bottom, 3, and then the rest are companies. Some are tech companies. There's a gold company, insurance, and then some in energy. And again, as you want to just spread out your investments into different industries, so you're spreading out your risk. 2 that we bought this week, Kinross Gold Corporation, and again, down at the minute, but I am confident it's going to go back up. But you can see that there. We bought it for we bought it for $8.41 a share. So it's gone down since we bought it. So that was one. And then we also bought VDY ETF based on the sort of Canadian markets, and it is up 44 cents. And again, the logic behind buying those, the VDY is pretty safe and expected just to bring that slow, steady growth. And it also pays, I think it's a 4% dividend. And then with Kinross, it's probably more risky. So it wouldn't surprise me if we lose for a bit with it. But then it will come good in time. But also it does pay a dividend. I think it's about bit less than 1.5% of a dividend as well. And so that's just my first month investing. As I said, I would just really encourage you to jump in and to start investing. As I say, we're up $15 in this month, which again, if you, you know, what's $15.01, but that's $15 extra that we have made. And so I'd encourage you. So I think I'm going to end the video here. If you have any questions about Wealthsimple Trade, feel free to ask me in the comments and I will try my best to answer them. And or if you have any questions about my portfolio, again, just ask and I'd be happy just to answer that as well. And I guess in the meantime, just hoping you have a great weekend. So thanks for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe the video and to share if it's been something that's been helpful. Bye for now.